Welcome back to the next training session for your UNI student teacher. One thing I'm looking for on that calendar are the no school dates, so I don't schedule a visit during a time that you might not have school. I will tell the student teacher the date of their first visit through an email, which they will then communicate to you. The student teacher will submit times to me that the two of you will discuss for 3 choices of times to meet during that particular date. Typically, we're looking for a time during a planning period, maybe during a recess or during specials if you're an elementary teacher, during a study hall, maybe during a team meeting time, or in some cases during a lunch, and certainly know and understand that it's perfectly fine for you to eat lunch as we are going through our meetings if that happens to be the only time that we can meet based on everyone's schedule that I'm meeting with that particular day. We might have to tag team some of the visit or even in some cases all of the visit. This means that I will take turns visiting with the CT, the cooperating teacher, and the student teacher while the class is being supervised. So essentially, you'll be taking turns supervising the class as I meet with the two of you separately. Usually that's just right outside the classroom or in the back of the classroom or in a mutually agreed upon place. The paperwork that we need for this first visit will be these 5 pieces of information. The absent request form, if your student teacher knows of an absent or an absence that they know of at this time, they will be filling out page 16, and we'll go over that in just a second. There's the 2-week progress report. There's the observation sheet that the student teacher will fill out, and the long-range plan for when to phase in the student teacher and when to phase them out, and then, of course, the CT payment form. If you go to your student teaching handbook, you can turn to page 16. On page 16, this is where I will be collecting the information for that student teacher if they're absent. And on this particular page, we just need the date, the dates of the leave. You know, sometimes it might just be in the morning or in the afternoon, or it might be a full day. And then they just simply check what the reason is that they're going to be gone, and then they sign it, and then the cooperating teacher also signs it. This can be filled out ahead of time if they know of a particular time that they're going to be absent. If they're sick, they will probably fill this out after the fact, and then I will pick that up at the next visit. Okay, turning on to the next page in the handbook, page 39, this is the 2-week progress report. And again, this is progress. So what is the student teacher doing in the first week or two? And you'll start with the student teacher's name. We will have a checklist of things that we hope that they've had a chance to do during the first 2 weeks of their experience. So you'll simply just check any of these areas that they have had a chance to experience. Part 2 of the 2-week progress report is simply circling or underlining areas where these student teachers have met these characteristics. We have enthusiasm, punctuality, academic preparation, and so on, 1 through 10. And you will either circle or underline the acceptable or needs improvement area. And then certainly if you'd like to put comments down, that is absolutely fine, and there's a place for that for comments here. The cooperating teacher will sign, and then the student teacher will sign. Moving on to the next important form that I will be picking up during that first visit. The student teacher will be conducting a formal observation of one of their classes or one of their periods that they will be working with during their student teaching experience. And they simply just put the date, the time of day, and basically the situation of what's happening during this class time. So they will fill out that top information and then just simply answer all these questions that they see on page 137. I will collect this during the first observation, or the first visit. Now turning to page 138 of the handbook, we are now in our first week of our experience, and I will start making my visits, the first visits to your school district during this time frame. For some of you, I will be seeing you maybe the first part of that 3rd week. But during this time, we're trying to figure out when will the student teacher be phasing in for their student teaching responsibilities. And basically, That can happen several different ways. We're looking at the readiness of the student teacher and certainly the readiness of the cooperating teacher. Are they ready to give up their classroom at this time? And that can be done a number of different ways. Sometimes they just take over parts of the day, parts of a lesson, the introductory part in the elementary. I see student teachers maybe doing the calendar time. That's a very routine part of the day that they have seen you model several times. They may teach a period that follows one that was modeled by the cooperating teacher. And they might just take over certain subject areas before they actually take over everything or a certain class period. So maybe they only do period 3 the first couple weeks, and they gradually pick up more periods or more sections during their weeks. Remember, we want them to have at minimum 2 full weeks of teaching, and usually that happens, anywhere between the 4th and 6th week of their experience. And again, it depends on readiness, and I encourage you to share the materials that you have used in your classroom, and hopefully the student teacher will have the opportunity to create some of their own materials to supplement what you're already doing in the classroom as well. Approximately during week 7 and 8, there may be a phase-out time, and that's when the cooperating teacher starts to take over their class again. And there's a phase-out time, so you might start picking up different periods during the school day, different subject areas during week 7. And then, of course, during week 8, the student teacher should be almost phased out of the entire classroom. But they will still be observing you, working with you, assisting you in the classroom. During week 8, we also like them to observe other teachers or possibly go to another school district and look at the same subject area or the same age group but in a different school district. We'll talk to you in more detail at future meetings about that last week. Certainly in the case of maybe extended snow days or other situations that may happen during the student teaching experience, they may be teaching into that 7th and 8th week, but certainly that's for certain circumstances that we can discuss at another time. But this is what the phase-in long-range plan looks like. Now for the cooperating teachers, we have a form that we are going to be picking up at the time of our first visit, and this is your UNI cooperating teacher payment form. There's some areas that are very important that you pay close attention to because they have to be filled out in great detail. For example, your first name and your full middle name or maiden name must be put in this area. And then of course your last name, so they want the full name. And then your social security number is a requirement to have on this form. Certainly all your address information should be put on the form. Which semester are you in? At this point you're in the spring semester, but typically it either means spring or fall semester. And then most of you will be either circling the first 8 weeks or the second 8 weeks, and that means that you will be also checking 8 weeks. Most student teachers will be with you for approximately the 8 weeks. In some other cases, we do have them go a little longer if, it depends on the placement. But for most of you, you're going to be checking this box. You'll place your student teacher's name on this line, and then you simply answer yes or no to these 2 questions that you see in the conflict of interest statement. And then we need you to sign this. We need your signature. And then please put the date of when your student teacher started with you. So that's the start date of the student teacher. And then for those of you that want your form or your information direct deposited, you will need to fill out this bottom portion here, and the university will have that direct deposited into your account. And then finally, I will be signing all these forms and getting them to UNI so that they have all of this on file and can submit your payment request. Thank you for attending our first visit information. I encourage you to ask any further questions through email. You have my email information and my cell phone information. Please feel free to contact me at any time. And again, I thank you for watching the video to help you along in the student teaching process. Have a great experience, and I'll see you soon.